Well, welcome to episode number 24 to the Make Music Income podcast. And today we want to talk about positive moves you can try to make music income. My name is Eric Copeland. I am here with Stephen BEDDALL, and we are just really going to make a total switch from last week. Last week on our podcast, we dived into a deep subject, which was burnout and how you can just get to the point where you wonder if all of this is even worth it, if music's worth it, if everything's worth it. And we bravely delved into a dark world where we all have to deal with from time to time. Well, this week we want to bring the light back into the room. We want to help you climb out of that burnout and the depressing place with some positive ideas and discussion about things you want to do, things you can do, and things you should do to make music income, and maybe some things that you could not concentrate on so much. Mm-hmm. And in the coming weeks on this YouTube channel, I'll be discussing positive steps that I took to make even more music income. I've already started with videos on how and why I started stock licensing, my focused years on my long plan to get into sync licensing, and my journey towards a new 5-figure income stream that I just added recently. I'll put all those videos down below, and maybe by the time this video comes out or next week, I don't know. We'll just see how my time works out. But I have a video coming out about how I monetized this music YouTube channel in just 9 months. All of that was very planned and has become now a positive income stream. All of these videos are going to be in the description below and in the podcast notes as well. These are positive, focused steps I took. I try to do this with every kind of income I have, how I took these steps. You've got to focus and take these steps. And that's really what we want to talk about today, especially since we call it the Make Music Income podcast. How do we make music income? But first, let me introduce my partner, Stephen BEDDALL. Hey, man, tell me about your week. What's been up?
Well, I feel a lot better and brighter than I did last week.
Good.
And I hope I didn't come across too rough last time around. But I think it resonated with some people. I mean, I know that, a lot of people are feeling burnout, and it happens. It happens to the best of us. And even though I'm feeling a lot better today, it is an absolutely abysmal day outside. It is raining. I'm looking at terrible weather right now, but that's par for the course for Vancouver, so that's all good. I had a good week, man. I just went on lots of long walks and tried to breathe deeply, and I kind of reconnected with some solitude, I guess. So I'm feeling better mentally, but
good.
I've been thinking, man. I've been thinking a lot, and we'll talk about this more in this podcast. I mean, with respect to taking positive steps in the right direction, I've just been kind of thinking a lot about, where I'm at with everything. And I think, I'm so grateful because I feel like I'm in a great place with the royalty-free music market. I've kind of, I think I've gone pretty much as far as I can go. I mean, I've got the attention of the Artlist Originals team, and I'm working with them. And I mean, that's just it's been absolutely wonderful for me. I do okay still on Motion Array. It's obviously not the same, but I still get some pretty good results there. And I'm always going to produce music for these libraries as long as there's money coming in. I'm going to throw them tracks, and I really, really enjoy doing that. But I think at the cost of focusing on all of this, the success with the royalty-free music libraries, it's kind of, I haven't been able to pay attention to artist growth. And for me, what I want to concentrate on, for the rest of the year in a big way is just Spotify growth for one thing. I mean, that's something that, I've just been so inspired by some of the members in the Academy's recent accomplishments with Spotify, and I've kind of been neglecting it, and I think it's really important for me as an artist to sort of make inroads there and build my my following as an artist. As that kind of gets pushed to the sidelines with the stock music game because it's not really so much artist focused. I never really thought about it that way much until I got onto Artlist and was sort of realizing how important it is to sort of have that profile, and I want to cultivate it and build it more. And so I think it's something that I'm gonna be spending a lot more time on, just pitching to playlists, whether that be Spotify curated playlists or independent playlists, and just getting my music out there and building my profile more as an artist. And I'm moving into a summer of gigs here. I got a bunch of gigs with the band, and things are kind of coming back to life. I was out last night with a friend, and it's like back to normal here, pretty much. And
same here.
I got a gig this Monday. I got wedding gigs coming up. I got a festival gig coming up in the summer, and it's like, man, I'm like, dusting off the cobwebs over here and trying to kind of get back to where I was at pre-COVID. And, I've had this kind of time off from thinking about all that stuff, but it's all coming back real fast. And I want to get back to that artist grind, and I want to start, cultivating that profile online on Spotify, as well as, getting back to promoting the band, and making things happen with shows and stuff like that. So I'm feeling positive about it, man. And that's been sort of my week. I've been kind of contemplating all that, but
glad to have you back, man.
Yeah.
Back from the depths.
I'm back in the saddle. I feel good. Other than kind of thinking about things, I haven't really. I'm taking a break from YouTube for a little bit, and just focusing on creating content for the academy and communicating with members there. And I got a few members who are trying to put together applications for Artlist, so I'm helping them with that.
Cool.
And got a challenge a May challenge to pay attention to. Working on a couple of courses, and that's it, man. Yeah. What about you?
Cool. Well, it's sunny and blue skies here today, about 90 degrees. So a little bit different weather than you're having. We've just had some outstanding weather, and it gets cool in the evenings, and so everybody's loving it here.
That sounds
For
nice.
me, it could be 90 degrees all year round, and I'd be happy. But that's just me. Everybody else here loves when it gets a little cooler. I made a new lo-fi song.
Oh, yeah?
And put it up to, it's on Audio Jungle and Pond 5 now, and I'm waiting to hear.
Nice.
I'm in the Motion Array queue. I wouldn't be surprised if I don't get a Motion Array. Personally, I haven't had a lot of luck with some of my more experimental or lo-fi type of things on Motion Array. They tend to like my, beautiful things and orchestral things and gospel things and all those kind of things, vocal things. We'll see how they like this. I've also was just working on this morning a new up-tempo rock song.
Nice.
Very bass-oriented. I'm using the bass from Native Instruments. The
Scarby one?
Yeah, Scarby. And it's really kind of like dirty amp, overdriven bass sound. It's just got a great sound to it, and that was the driving force of this song. Like boom, 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 boom. So it's got a lot of guitar and stuff in it. No keyboards, by the way, in this song as of yet. So a very rock-oriented, up-tempo track, just to see how that does. And that was on purpose, but I'm having some fun with it. Continuing to work on country stuff. I've got vocal tracks happening. I've got more tracks happening on that. I did a music review Tuesday this week, music for film and TV. That was kind of fun to do that. I'm trying to focus those music review weeks on a specific thing. And so, maybe one week just needs to be up-tempo rock, since that tends to be a pretty popular thing that people want to make music in royalty-free music. And that tends to be a popular style there.
I just wrote one too. Also, I'll send it to you for next for next one.
Okay, I'm probably only doing those music review Tuesdays every other week now because and then my Thursday live every other week, and I'm trying to kind of go back and forth. My schedule of uploading is really weird now. I've quit trying to say I'm going to release this day and this day and this day, and I'm just going to release when I get it done and when I finish. And on the other days, I'll just guide people to older videos and say, hey, I talked about this, and sometimes I find that's just as good. I am working on this new video about my YouTube channel I talked about. I think that's going to be a fun video. And I'm finally releasing my ebook, not a course, but an ebook on how to find on stock music libraries, basically, And I've just decided not to do a course on it. It's too changing. It just changes too much to try to do a video course. I'd have to redo modules every month.
No kidding.
So I've got a video coming up called How to Find Music Libraries, which will be both stock and sync libraries. Everybody always asks this. And so I'm going to go ahead and release this ebook with that video. And I, too, just like you, I'm analyzing my music incomes really carefully to just see what is a good use of my time and what is not a good use of my time. It continues to be so important. I mean, that's what we're really going to talk about today. What positive steps can we take towards making music income, and what can we not? And I just got to throw this in. I too am feeling the urge to play, and that's an odd thing because I don't. Gigging is not like what my first thing I think of, and I have no idea when I would do it because there's no time in my schedule right now.
Yeah.
But I have a friend here who's upright bass player, and we were doing some kind of duo stuff a few years back. And man, I would just love to play some jazz. Just love to have a bass player and a drummer and find a place that needs some background music and just play. I'm in that mood right now. I don't get in it often, but I'm in it right now, so I know how you feel about that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about today is in this kind of focus on positive moves to make music income. The very first thing we got to do, and this isn't negative, this is just we've got to get rid of the time wasters. And I think all of us have those things. We have these things that we've picked up, we've started because everybody else is doing it, or because it just seems like the thing to do. We see videos about it and we say, oh, I could make money doing that. And some of the things we've already talked about are in this. And so my goal is to quit or offload these things that I either don't want to do or I do want to do, but I don't want to do it myself. And some of that has to do with my work with my clients. Some of that has to do with stock music and other things like that. But I've got a list. So I'll go down my list of things that I'm kind of feel like are time wasters sometimes for me and for other people too. And the first one, of course, is what we've already mentioned, which is stock licensing. And we've got to be really careful with this because it can be a big time waster if we're not careful, especially some of the lesser libraries that everybody has told us that, oh, yeah, you can put your music up to this library and this library and this library and this library. And it's not. It is true. You can put your music up there, but I'm not sure that putting your music and spending all the time to upload music to Dreamstime and deposit photos and to Motion Elements and to other goofy ones that we find.
We can't in good conscience recommend uploading music to these libraries. Not with the amount of revenue that people are reporting. I mean, like $40, $50 a year or something like that. I mean, how can you justify that? It just doesn't make sense.
It's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap we get into. And there's several of these that are traps. It's a trap we get into because other people are doing it and making music income on it. And some people like you are having great, big, huge months. And so it's everyone thinks, oh my gosh, if he made $2,000, I've got to work hard on this. But the problem is you're more likely going to be lucky to average about what I average, which is a couple $100 a month. Maybe when Motion Array was paying more last year, I was making about twice that. But now, especially since there's only so much time and I only am putting up a song a week or so, then you're just not going to see humongous growth. And with all the changes that are happening, and another change just happened this week. We need a news section because, Shutterstock acquired Pond 5 this week, if you haven't heard. A lot of people have heard that on our Discord. Don't know how that's going to affect everything, but probably. What does it even matter? I mean, Pond 5 is not something that is paying anybody's mortgage, that I know of, except Lester, maybe.
Well, I don't know. What does Lester pull in? I mean, he's probably got a few $100 or something like that a month from Pond 5, right? I'm not sure if it was a lot. I can't remember what he said, but I mean, yeah, these situations are never. I don't think it's going to be the end of Pond 5, like some people were saying, but I think it's these situations tend to not play out well for earnings. They usually get diluted somehow, in much the same way that like Motion Arrays did this year. But I mean, I don't know. It's the news is kind of funny because like literally just days before we got that news, I applied for the subscription membership thing. So we'll see if that makes any difference to the income. But like,
I don't know.
I've long since ran out of time to upload to Pond 5. So that's one of those things.
Let's not waste that much more time on it, because this is something that we could waste a lot of time on in this podcast. See what happens? You just get into this and it just becomes this big thing. You should see the Discord. It's just got hundreds of things talking about 14 cents. And I started one yesterday about it. And so it's just so easy to get into a tangent with stock licensing. The other one that I think I'm just going to have to stop is Taxi. I think Taxi is one of those things that, especially for me, someone who already has 3 libraries to feed, I should be spending my time writing and feeding those libraries that want stuff from me and have already told me they accept stuff. Please bring it to me. I should be putting all of my time into a library that is actually wants the stuff and could be paying me, rather than paying $5 every submission so I could get possibly forwarded, so I could get maybe contacted, probably not contacted by, if I do get a forward from a library to give them music. It doesn't make any sense, for me at least. There's
so much else I could say about that, and I totally feel you on that. But I think that like it's important to remember that like if you're not in the if you're just in the stock game so far, and you're trying to maybe think about getting your music onto like TV and production music libraries, there's really it's not really the same as stock music, where it's like the idea may have been always to just kind of get your music on as many non-exclusive libraries as possible. I think when you get your foot in the door with a few of these like TV and production music libraries, you like you'll develop a rapport with their team, and they'll ask you to send them music, and it's like you're not going to be able to work with all of these different exclusive TV and production music libraries, because you won't be able to produce that much music. Like it's much, I think it makes a whole lot more sense to have like maybe 2 or 3 that you work with, and then send them music regularly. You know what I mean? Like because they're all exclusive, right? Like
I agree. Here's my problem. I still think that if you just, and I'm doing a video on purpose about this in 2 weeks on how to find music libraries, and I don't mean just stock libraries. I'll have a short piece on that, but mainly how to find sync libraries and the places you can go that, and I will mention Taxi in all fairness, to be honest, but I will also mention a $47 book you can find that has all the libraries that Taxi is playing the game, where you have to get forwarded and get contacted by a library. They're all in a book. I can direct you to that book where they all are, and you can go through them and look at their libraries and send them an email, which costs $0. And to me, that's how I got all mine. I didn't get them from Taxi. I didn't get them from a service I paid money for. I got them because I did research and I found them, and I think we need to be pushing that more.
Well, quite frankly, I was a little bit put off by some of the, hearing some of the information about people getting forwarded to like stock libraries. Like that was a real gut punch for me, because like I bought the Taxi membership, feeling pretty optimistic about maybe potentially getting developing some relationships with like production libraries. And man, I gotta say, in all honesty, I lost my motivation to keep sending them stuff.
And I take it the forward that you got that was responded to, you've decided not to move forward with that?
I didn't move forward. I had a little back and forth with the artist, and it didn't really make sense for me to continue with that. So
I don't have anything against Taxi, and I think
me neither.
There are lots of people who have done it, but when I talked to one guy about it, he got a Taxi referral from Scorekeepers. I'm already in Scorekeepers.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now in this podcast and on this video, you can go to scorekeepers.com and submit to them for $0.
They got a little portal. You can just throw the music right in it. They make it super easy.
If you want to be an exclusive library and you have good quality music, apply to scorekeepers.com and you will be in an exclusive music library, one that Taxi has sent people to before.
That's right.
So anyway, again, another black hole, time wasting thing that we could talk about all day.
And exactly, and just for the people who are working with Taxi, like we're not judging.
Not judging.
All that aside, it's still a great way to like motivate yourself to write music, and if that's what it takes, then like heck yeah, keep doing it. Because
I just submitted 3 songs last week, so it's not that I don't believe in it, but I think for me, for getting rid of time wasters, that's probably one I'm going to have to do. So this next one might be a little controversial, and again, I don't want to waste too much time on time wasters, but one of these is Spotify and DSPs. Now, you had talked earlier about wanting to make this a thing, and we've seen people like Dan Barracuda, and I know another guy, both who make 4 figures monthly on Spotify. But the truth is that most people don't make 4 figures monthly on Spotify. They make $100 every 2 or 3 months if they're doing pretty decent. Now, someone like yourself, it makes a lot of sense because you've got the whole Artlist thing going on, which is tied to Spotify in some ways. And so that makes sense. But the people who are, I mean, if you want to try to do what Dan Barracuda is doing and do the Barracuda way and try to get on on Spotify and all these places and be on playlists, I have no problem with that. And I wish I had more time to do that. Yeah. But for some people, that can be a time waster. That can be something that you spend a lot of time doing that brings back no return.
Right.
That's just what.
I 100% agree. I think it really depends on, I think for me, it makes sense because I just wanted to grow my artist profile. It's kind of linked into that endeavor, right? So, I mean, it's like, I have all this music that I'm sitting on, and I want to be able to put it out there more, and it just makes sense for me to do it. I think that in terms of like returns, it's going to take a while. It's probably it's going to be slow.
Listen, don't get me wrong. If I had an intern sitting here, I'd have them putting every single tune that I have written for stock on my DSPs. I would have somebody doing it. I'm just saying, if you are at a place, not you, but if you are in a place and you're listening to this podcast and you've been uploading to Spotify and seeing not much return, like pennies or dollars, a few dollars here or there, it may be time to make that less of something you spend your time on and more towards the things that we'll talk about here in a minute. Another thing is YouTube. You're taking a YouTube break right now just because I take it that money from YouTube, as far as what you get from ad revenue or whatever, has probably reached a plateau for you and makes just a certain thing. And I know it does for me, and it doesn't look like that's going to grow really fast and huge, It'll just depend on how much content I make. But, again, making content is time consuming. And the other thing about YouTube I want to mention, I see this all the time talked about in the Discord, is everybody who's putting their stuff up on up on YouTube as music videos with their music playing with just a graphic, and then they're wondering why they spend all this time making these things and uploading these things to YouTube, and they only have 2 or 3 people who viewed it, and they're not making any money from it. Folks, that's not going to make you a lot of money. The people who make a lot of money on that are people who have sold hundreds of thousands of streams on Audio Jungle. That's the people who are making money by putting their stuff now up on YouTube. They're Lester and people like that who are starting libraries. They're not starting libraries from scratch.
Well, they're
starting libraries because they've already been having huge success with clients.
Yeah, well, I think that there was a kind of a golden age or a golden time for that to happen, because I remember like when the Morning Light dude from our Audio Jungle started doing that, and he really blew up YouTube.
He didn't start though. He started after he already had 100,000 downloads on Audio Jungle. That's why he started it, so he could make the majority of the money from that and start. The Morning Light dude is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. He didn't just decide, there's money to be made on YouTube, so I better start putting YouTubes out there from zero. No, he did that after he'd been working for years for Audio Jungle, and maybe Pond 5, but certainly Audio Jungle, and had hundreds of thousands of downloads and made tons of money there, but he saw he was only getting half of that. Well, so he said, I'm going to make my own library.
Yeah. I mean, totally. I think that he was. What I mean is that he was kind of an early adopter. And Lester's been doing it a long time too. These are guys who've been putting their music on. They got a lot. And since Morning Light's been doing it, like like 100 other people followed in his footsteps and like did the same thing. And then when that happens, the recommendation algorithm gets a lot tougher. It's like a lot harder to get your music out there because the competition is so much stiffer. It's that kind of thing it just flooded YouTube. So if I was to start like a royalty-free channel now, I mean, I'd be up against massive competition.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people who are starting it who only have 5 songs on Pond 5, and they're thinking, oh, I'll also put these 5 songs on YouTube because that's where other people are making lots of money. It's not going to happen, and it might be a time waster, is what I'm saying.
Could be.
Same thing and the last ones I have is TikTok and Instagram Reels and things like that.
Yeah.
That can build great followings there, but we're talking about making music income, not making music followers. And yes, you could get great views on TikToks and Instagrams, and I struggle with this all the time. I know we've both talked about doing more social media. We feel like we need to do social media.
I've had a real tough time with it, to be honest.
But I feel like though if I take little snippets of my YouTube videos and put them on TikTok or put them on Reels, they do great. But the problem is that's time consuming to do that. Yeah, they get a lot of stuff, but they don't bring back any income. And today what we're talking about is making income, not wasting time, not making income. That's kind of the point, is where I'm going with
I suppose it kind of depends on how direct the income stream is, to some extent, because it's like if you're filtering people into your YouTube channel through TikTok, and those people are eventually joining your mastermind, then there's an argument to be made that it's a worthy time investment. But it's very hard to like measure those kinds of things.
The problem is it's hard to get people off TikTok. They don't want to go off TikTok. TikTok does not want people going off TikTok. Instagram does not want people going on Instagram, off Instagram. That's why you can't put links in your Instagram post or your TikTok post.
Right.
The only way they can follow you is to go to your YouTube channel. And if you're on TikTok, how often are you going to other people's YouTube channels or the links that they have on their TikTok? Probably not very much, because you're doing this all day long on TikTok.
Well, you can add like a link tree, like a URL in your TikTok profile if you have a business profile, and same thing with Instagram. So I think that you can filter an audience in there, but I think it's like you said, it's tough.
I'm not arguing that you can't put a link tree and lots of links in there. I'm arguing that people aren't going to click it because they're more interested in the content that they're looking at. YouTube makes it a little easier. You can go in the description and click all sorts of links. Facebook makes it easy, but Facebook doesn't show videos or show posts that have links off Facebook to everybody. They only show it to a little bit. So I'm just saying that those things, Facebook can be a really big time waster. They can be time wasters as far as you as a musician trying to make income if your goal is income. If your goal is to be seen and heard and build a huge TikTok following, and maybe siphon some of those people, once they love you and want to follow you so much, then yes, maybe they will go to your link, whatever your link is. But you can say link in bio all day. My new video's out, link in bio, and I see very few people, even if I have dozens of people who see the Instagram post, probably nobody comes over from it to YouTube, which like I want them to. So I'm just saying those can be time wasters. Any other time wasters you can think of that I haven't mentioned?
I mean, social media is definitely something I struggle with, Yeah, I don't know if I'm convinced that it's. I mean, I think that building a following on any social media platform can be leveraged into income eventually.
I don't agree. I don't disagree.
And I mean, I think we both agree with that. But I mean, I think it comes down to me for like I just can't split my time between all of them. I mean, it's like I have a hard enough time keeping up with YouTube. So for me, it just, if as much as I would love to sort of, like you said, I mean, make these edits for Instagram Reels and TikTok, man. It's just like, I need a freaking intern here, because I don't have time. I don't have time for it. And ultimately, it's really hard for me to assess how much that would be worthwhile anyway. So you kind of have to make a gut call on it and say, well, look, I'm sort of going to cut my losses here and just focus on YouTube for now until I have enough money to hire an assistant to do all these alternate video edits, because I just don't have the time. So they feel like probably the potential for time wasting is quite high. And like, and it's, I mean, we're gambling here. I'm not really sure. We're like, we only have so much time in a day, and you have to make like a judgment call about like what it is that's probably going to be the most beneficial in terms of income. And right now for me, it's like concentrating on MIDI packs and sample packs for production music tools, because that brings actual income for me. Like that's something that is tangible. I see results from it, and it's growing all the time. So it makes a lot of sense for me to keep working on that. It makes sense for me to keep working on content for the Academy, because that is something that is like bringing in regular monthly income. I mean, my members there are part of my my income stream. So I mean, these are things I have to focus on. So I can't dilute that into, trying to make inroads on different social media platforms too much. Although I'd love to be able to make more time for it. Ultimately, I'm just kind of, I got my hands tied, so
there's only so much time, and we have to zero in on the things that we really want to do, the things that we love. We have to focus on those things. There is a verse in the Bible that always comes to me for this: whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent, think about these things. And I'm taking that a little out of context, but we really have to focus on those things that we love to do, that we want to do, that are going to mean something to us, that are going to, and then what are, and the end are also things that are going to bring income. And that's, we have to make music above all else, but then we have to think about how that music is going to make us income, if that's a goal of yours. If it is, then we need to think of positive income ideas. And the first one I have in the positive income ideas category is find outlets for real music income, like live gigs. Like I said, I may have said to you earlier in our mastermind, we had somebody who he's been putting out money towards recordings for about a year now. He finally had a gig. It was a church gig where he went up and he led the worship thing, and they paid him for the day. And he says, that was my first income from all the money that I've spent outgoing. And now that's going to become a monthly thing. So he's got a monthly income from that. But as you know, as a live musician, I'll let you talk about this. I mean, there is no better income than doing a gig, because you get paid to be there and you get paid to sell merch. You get to sell stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've got a big suitcase full of records and vinyl and T-shirts. And man, it's been collecting some dust.
Time to move that stuff this summer.
Yeah, like it's I'm so stoked to open it back up and sell some T-shirts. I mean, man, we had some gigs where we just like made crazy money on merch, man. It's like if you can sell it, that's where a lot of bands make most of their money.
Absolutely.
It's being on the road is so expensive now. I mean, it's like, I don't even know how any band's going to do it now with gas prices. It's just insanity. But like, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that merch is where bands make all their money. Because they'll often have, I mean, especially bands that are, some bands are, it all depends. It's so subjective, but I mean, like, depending on the kind of deal you have with your management, or your record company or whatever, I mean, they'll take a cut of everything. But often, if you're printing your own T-shirts and doing it real DIY style like we used to do, I got literally a silk screen press and was doing my own T-shirts and everything back in the day. We hauled in tons of cash through selling merch. We get a few hundred people that are stoked at a show and fresh T-shirts, and you sell it. It's like anything else. It's just, you can make great income on top of your gig money. Usually the gig money isn't that good, to be honest, unless you're doing like a corporate bands. Event or something like that, but or a wedding. I mean, we do weddings.
For solo artists, it might be different. If you can go by yourself and get the gig done, and you can make a couple $100. I think for band members, but it all has to be split up,
That's exactly it. And it's like I have a 6-person band, so it's not about the money for us. Although we've done gigs that paid us very, very well. We're fortunate that way. But most of the gigs, we're not doing it for money. We're doing it because we love each other and we love hanging out and playing music. I should say that for anyone who is doing any kind of performance stuff, like whether you're a solo or you're in a band, building an email list of fans is going to be your most valuable asset. It still is. The email list is still so important for anyone who's doing, whether you're in a band or you're just doing, your whatever you're selling, man. Email list is incredibly powerful for generating income. And it's like, it's one thing to sell t-shirts at a gig, and it's another to build, relationships with your fans online and sell merch that way too. So
most people who run online businesses sell mostly through email.
Exactly.
They don't sell during their videos. They don't sell off of their Facebook or off of their, TikToks or Instagram. They sell from their email list. Instagram, TikTok, their YouTube channel, everything is focused on getting people to their email list.
That's right.
And yeah, you can be selling merch online and through emails and through that email list. So certainly, I think the other big income stream that we just don't talk enough about, and maybe next week we can figure a way to talk about making income this way, again, is producing music for other people and for clients. I think we are so concerned with this sexy licensing thing that we lose track of money that we can be making now for people who need money, need music now. And all of you who are watching this likely have a DAW that you can make music with, and you are making great, amazing music. Stephen, I know we do these review things and these things where people send us music that they've worked on, and we're like continually blown away by the quality of it. And yet those are things that people are trying to make for licensing. And believe me, I and Steve are both trying to make stuff for licensing. But the problem is that only takes you so far. That only you have to wait for that money versus doing production music that can make you money tomorrow, next week, and finding those clients that are local to you, that are not local to you, that are on Fiverr, that are on Upwork, that all these places where you can find people who need music made, and you have the tools to do that. And you should be getting out of that cave, finding clients and networking and putting your card in people's hands and putting your website where they can go listen to your work. The work that you have already done for stock libraries or for sync libraries, you are hoping you can put on a website and say, hey, I can produce for you, and people will go, dang, that is what you did. And I think, I don't know if everyone is doing that enough. And I don't know if we talk about it enough.
It's a good point, man. It's a good point. It's like, especially for all these, like, if you listen to pop radio, man, it's all like electronic based music. I mean, it's like, you don't need access to like some fancy studio or anything like that. I mean, what about all these rappers that need beats? It's like you can produce for hip hop artists, for pop singers or whatever. It's like you can create amazing tracks in the comfort of your bedroom. So it's like you really don't need a lot of access in order to be a producer these days, I don't think. Again,
the people who are sending music to me on Music Review Tuesday, these people need to be producing people. They need to be producing tracks with their orchestral samples and all the samples they have in their guitar playing ability and all the things they're able to do. They need to be making money with their studios at their home for people, and not just waiting for someone in Los Angeles or at Taxi or at Pond 5 to send them to hopefully get in there and make pennies or dollars. They can be making hundreds of dollars per production for people. And I think this is just something I don't talk enough on this channel. This is one of the things my channel was built on, was the sixth thing in the first six how to make music income, 6 ways to make music income. My very first video was producing for other people. And so it's just that we get so swayed and our eyes get so big when we look at the numbers some people are making in stock music, or what people are making in sync music. It's very, very sexy.
Also, maybe I'll tack onto that is like working with indie filmmakers and content creators directly, rather than working through music libraries. That's how I built my career, is working with filmmakers who weren't interested in going to license music from Artlist or MusicBed or whatever. They wanted to work with someone who was going to, work directly with them and score music for the very specific, shots that they had, and like they needed custom content. It's still in demand. It's not like
Or local commercial clients, people who need music for their local companies, for their
ad
radio.
agencies.
Yes.
These guys look for composers.
That's how I started. I started doing that before I started my production career. I was making thousands of dollars per cue,
Right.
and we were doing cues, but they weren't for a hopeful sync placement or a hopeful stock money. They were for people that were paying me today for that 45 seconds of music. Talk about making 15s, 30s, and 60s. We were doing that, but we were getting paid $4,500 for doing that.
Yeah.
And we weren't doing that with lots of musicians. We were doing that completely in-house with our keyboard sounds. And so you can be doing that too. And I can't stress that enough, and I'm glad to waste time on that, because this is something that I think more people need to be doing that could make them positive income now rather than later down the road possible. So so let's go ahead and let's tackle something else before we even get to licensing, and that is teaching and education. Both of us either have done lessons and things like that, or are doing education of some kind now. We both do education through our YouTube channels, but you also do it through your academy. You've also taught lessons before. I've taught lessons. I taught one yesterday, and then I am teaching now. And getting a nice salary from a school to teach music and music production and things like that. And this is another thing that I'd like to stress more on my channel for people to think about. Again, not as sexy as getting into a feature film or getting into a broadcast television show. Not as sexy, but guess what? Pays better right away in most cases. Sometimes you're going to get bigger checks like you got last month from Motion Array, but some months you're going to get smaller checks. And this is a continued $1,000 check or more to get every 2 weeks. And that is a way to make music income. And maybe you have to go back to school to get some credit, the credit hours or the degree that you need to be able to do the thing you need to do in your area and at your schools in your area. But this is something we don't talk enough about, even again, because it's not as sexy. But it is an income that you can get and add to your other music income, so you can continue to do stock and sync and all the other things.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't really teach guitar anymore, but like 6 months ago, I had like 10 students. I had to offload all my students because just like everything else has just gotten so busy. So I'm focusing on being sort of a mentor or teacher via the academy, which I'm so much more stoked to do because I enjoy teaching that kind of stuff a whole lot more than teaching guitar. Not that I hated teaching guitar, but it's just not my favorite thing to do. So, but it was certainly like a really, sustainable way for me to kind of keep money coming in for a long time. And then things just got a little bit too crazy. So I kind of had to reassess. But man, no, teaching is great. And look, I don't have a degree in music. And I didn't study music theory or anything like that in school. Like I went to audio engineering school, and that's sort of a more technical thing. So I wasn't really qualified to teach guitar.
Which is more what you teach.
But I still taught guitar, and at the end of the day, people just want a good teacher. They don't really care about, to some extent, your qualifications matter. I mean, and for you, they would for teaching at the school you do. Obviously, they're not just going to hire anyone off the street who says that they know what they're talking about. I mean, you have to be qualified. But as a guitar teacher, if you're teaching an instrument, for instance, I mean, I managed to get plenty of students without ever being asked to show whether I had gone to school for music or anything like that. So I mean,
I would say both the jobs that I applied for recently that I was up for both required accreditation, and the master's maybe was not needed for this particular job. It didn't hurt. Mm-hmm. The 22-year or 25-year music production career is probably what is one of the main reasons I got the job. But
yeah, man,
they also like the fact that I had the training, because I am teaching music theory these past 2 weeks, and it's deep music theory. It's not like what is a quarter note, although we do talk about that. It gets into all sorts of things, Roman numerals and Nashville numbers, and how do you find a C on the staff, and what is a staff, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So And this is to people like you're teaching, like a school that you went to, where it's more about music production in some ways. But anyway, another deep topic we could spend a lot of time on. Let's hit something else before licensing. Church work. I think there are a lot of you listening out there who have or do work in churches, playing an instrument and or leading the choir or the band or whatever, or running sound at churches. We would have easily paid $100 a week to someone to run sound for the services that we have at
It's
churches.
a good point, man. I have a friend who does full-time production for a church here in Vancouver, and is paid a really nice salary to do it. Me and my girlfriend went to church last Sunday for the first time in I think it must be like three years or something like that. But we were like, yeah, they're open again, and there's all these there's these beautiful churches downtown Vancouver, old, beautiful stone buildings. And we went to one of the biggest ones. It's called St. Andrew's United Church. And first thing I noticed when I walked in, huge place. There was like a full-on production crew to the right, like taking care of the sound, the visual, the lighting, and everything. And I was like, oh man, that's a full-on production team over there. They had like all this fancy gear and like a console and everything. I was like, wow. I was like, that's cool. And I mean, it's a need. Yeah, it's a need.
And it's in every town in all the world, I mean, and so I think that's something that, again, we just don't talk about enough. I do think that working the DSPs, the Spotifys and Apple and all that can be another income stream, and it's kind of a time waster and something I want to talk about as a positive thing. You've already been talking about today, and especially for someone like yourself who is making a lot of income, and your name is known on Artlist and things, and they are tied. They would like to be tied to your Spotify, and you've already seen growth in your Spotify because of Artlist. Then the DSPs are something that can bring in money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just checked my the back end of DistroKid the other day, and I got $500 waiting for me. That's all because of Artlist. Nice. I've never pitched my music to a single playlist, but they show up. It gets found. So imagine, what it would look like if I just put a little effort into it. That's sort of.
What if you had 5 times the amount of music on Artlist that you have now?
Exactly.
And then you had all of that same music on Spotify and all the DSPs.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
You got 5 times this stuff or 10 times this stuff.
I got a 10x it, as they say.
Yeah. I got a hard out here in a few minutes so I can get to work. But one more thing before licensing, and I feel like we've already talked about licensing enough today. But I have heard of people who are making 6 figures selling sheet music. I mean, this is something we don't think about. If you are a person who creates piano music, and I know a lot of people ask me about this, you can create sheet music. I just had my stuff sent over to a new site this week called Arrange Me or something like that, but it's a new I was on this other site and it switched over to another sheet music site, and I had 2 sheet music sales this week. And sheet music is still something to sell. So if you're a piano player, even if you're a guitarist, you make guitar stuff, and like somebody like Dan, where you have a melody and you have chords and things like that, people are looking to buy sheet music. And I heard of a guy who's making 6 figures selling sheet music. Crazy. I spoke to another guy who's making 6 figures selling his ambient sound music, which is like rain and stuff like that. He's got to be making almost 6 figures just selling that ambient music on Spotify and all those places and getting into playlists. So these are income streams that some people are making the kind of income that you're making with what you do, and the money that I'm making through production and teaching and things like that. And then, yes, we do get to licensing. And as we know, and on this channel, we talk about it all the time, and we talk a lot about our licensing income. I just did a video about where I am with stock music, where I talk about exactly what I've made in stock music. You've done the same thing. So people can see that on these channels, and I feel like that's one of the things we talk about more than anything. So I'm not sure we need to cover that much. I think stock music can be, with the right music, a way to make consistent music income. I just got paid today by Audio Sparks. I'll get paid tomorrow or the next day by I'm going to be getting Motion Array money this month. I'm going to be getting Audio Jungle and Pond 5 money this month. So that'll be $250 to $300. Some of that is like saved up payments because I didn't get paid the month before. So I'm getting maybe a little bit more actually paid out this month than normal. But, certainly stock can bring in income. But compared to the rest of my income, it's tiny compared to the production music work that I do and the education work that I do. Those are bringing in 90% of what I make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and we didn't even mention Content ID. That's going to be a thing too that we're going to have to talk more about. There's some interesting experiments going on in the academy with some of the members that are running some very interesting experiments with Content ID.
We've got a Content ID episode coming up probably in our 30s somewhere. In our episode 30 to 40 somewhere, there's going to be a first Content ID income report type of podcast or something.
Yeah, you're probably right. Hopefully not in the 40s.
I hope that this has kind of helped you start to see things you probably might want to pull back on, just like Steve and I are both doing right now. We're really pulling back on the things that we've been spending time on that maybe aren't the things that are going to be. It's not that we're burnt out on them as much as we have to be very careful with our time. And we have to be careful to spend our time on the things that make money, that pay our bills. And because we depend on this. Now, if you are not someone who depends on this for your living, then maybe you can afford to experiment more, mess around more, and do this as a hobby and just experiment. And that's fine. But if you are serious about making music income, you're going to have to get rid of your time wasters and focus on the positive things that you can do today to make music income. And that's basically where I wanted to go with this.
Yeah,
Any
sweet.
Final thoughts about this?
Well, I like that we've had this positive, sort of discussion because I feel a lot better, and I hope that anyone listening that, to the last episode that felt like a little bit burnt out and could relate to that, just, take some deep breaths and just take a break from whatever it is that's bumming you out or burning you out in any way. And, I don't know, just try to take some positive steps in the right direction, reassess your time. That's what we're both doing. And, man, I feel a whole lot better about it. So, and I'm excited.
I think people appreciate those times when they have to really search their souls about things, because we're all the time talking about, we made money doing this guy makes money doing this, we did this, look what we did, look at, here's our experiences. But for the people who are not having those experiences, I think having episodes like that speak to them. And so I don't think a burnout episode or episode about my stock episode last week where I was like, it's not as great as it used to be. I think that is strangely comforting to people who have also deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important that we do that from time to time. So
Yeah.
don't feel I don't think you should feel bad about it. I think people are reacting to it very well.
Well, it brings it all down to earth, because at the end of the day, we're struggling to figure it out, and it's like it's always changing. So
absolutely
trying to keep up with things too. So we'll keep you guys in the loop as always about our progress, our wins and our fails.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for listening today to today's podcast. Make sure you check out everything that we have going on here on YouTube at Steve's Production Music Academy and here on Make Music Income. You'll find the links to everything in the description below, and the podcast will wrap up everything else that you need to know. So thanks so much for being here. Steve, good to see you. Thanks for talking.
See you guys.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.